All right, Adam, it is game preview time, and the Buffs on Saturday, as of now, are still planning on going to Stanford. And let's start off there because COVID is the main talk every week, right? But it sounds like as we're doing this on a Wednesday afternoon, things look pretty good for the Buffs to be able to play at Stanford. They've had some issues, including we'll get into this, but a couple of their top players on offense may not play, but not enough that it sounds like that this game is in danger.
Yeah, it sounds like if this was in the county that Cal is at, that this game probably wouldn't happen, right? That's kind of what I've deciphered, but it's a little bit different in Palo Alto. But yeah, every week, Brian, we're gonna just be sitting here talking about we just hope that nothing happens between the time of the taping of this and when the game kicks off. For the Buffs, yeah, it's not COVID issues; it's some pretty important injury issues that they have coming off that season opener. Colby Purcell, one of the key players on offense, Chris Miller, one of the key players on defense. It sounds like Josh Gines is going to start at center. And then with our last availability with Carl Drell, he said that Chris Miller is doubtful there. So I'm a little less concerned with the starting group at safety because I think Rakestraw, Mark Perry, and Isaiah Lewis will be a pretty good group. But depth beyond that, I mean, I don't know who would be out there. We saw Curtis Appleton, a walk-on, get into the UCLA game. And then, with Josh Jones, I don't know. I think he was probably running third string coming into camp, right? Because I think Austin Johnson was probably the backup there. So a little bit concerning there.
Yeah, and Austin Johnson is out, and also at safety, Will Englund, we learned this week, has decided to enter the transfer portal, and he's no longer with the team. So, when the depth chart came out, Stanford actually posted CU's depth chart on Monday, and it showed Appleton as the starter at star with Will Englund as the backup. Well, right now, CU, it just shows Curtis Appleton. That's it, and then Chris Miller
Yeah.
injured. So who knows who's going to be there? I'd be interested to see what they do there. But yeah, there's definitely some personnel issues. Josh Gines, though, I agree with you. Probably third string coming in, but I think played 26 snaps. He looked pretty good. I didn't really notice him messing up. And as a center, you look for bad snaps, things like that. I didn't see any of those issues.
Yeah, I would also caution Colorado fans that those in-season depth charts, even if there's a change, a lot of times they don't even show it on there. I don't put a whole lot of stock into those once
Right.
you get into the season.
Yeah, because I mean, right now it shows Curtis Appleton as a starter. Now, if they come out with a star, do you expect Curtis Appleton to be in the starting lineup? I
No.
personally don't. I think it's going to be Rakestraw, Isaiah Lewis, and Mark Perry.
Yep, I agree.
So we'll see, how that turns out. But yeah, certainly some personnel issues, Adam. And one, I guess, on a positive note, Katie Nixon practiced on Wednesday, and sounds like he's getting close to return. And then Levante Chenault, who was suspended last week from his incident over the summer, is back. So they get some help at receiver, which I guess if you look at last week, they don't really need, but it's nice to have those guys back.
Yeah, Brendan Rice and Montana Lemonis, Craig probably don't see as much time going forward if
Right.
Nixon is able to go. And I do think you'll see more of a rotation than we've seen in previous years with Darren Chevery. Typically, he's really liked to roll with his top guys there. I think you want to rotate more guys, but you also don't want to go into too deep of a rotation. I think that's a rhythm position where you've got to get out there, break a sweat, kind of get into the flow of things. And yeah, I don't think you're going to want to take Dimitri Stanley off the field that often. Katie Nixon, if he's healthy, you don't want to take him off the field that often.
Yeah.
Daniel Arias, maybe that big catch in the second half gets him going. We'll see if that's kind of a shot of confidence for him. And Maurice Bell we've talked about him, earlier this week. He's a guy that provides some explosiveness there. Fonte, anxious to see him. He's certainly been raved about since he's come on campus. For him, it was all about maybe some of the mental side of the stuff that he had improved on, knowing exactly what to do all the time. And now he's, a full year into the system. So anxious to see. Obviously, he's much different than his older brother, though.
Yeah, and things I've heard in the past, he's actually a better receiver than his brother. So we'll see. But I'm curious to see, Adam, like what you mentioned Montana Lamonius, Craig, and Brendan Rice getting fewer snaps. I'm curious to see if Katie and Vontae are back, what that does to the snaps for Daniel Arias and Maurice Bell, because those guys played almost the entire game. So I'm curious what that looks like. And I was also surprised. You and I haven't talked about this, but I was surprised that Jalen Jackson did not play one snap on offense. Were you surprised by that?
Well, a little bit maybe, but Dimitri Stanley I know he had the one you guess you could call it a drop on third down. It was not the easiest catch, but
Yeah.
he was my breakout pick. I think he is just going to keep getting better. And yeah, I don't think you really want to take him off the field. And he's in that slot role where Jalen Jackson is as well. So that's part of it, I would imagine, is just you don't want to take one of your top playmakers off the field.
Yeah, and I get that. I just thought there might be a little more rotation there. Now, this will be an interesting game because the Buffs had over 90 snaps on offense last week. You typically don't get that in a game with Stanford. I mean, that's a ball control type of offense. CU held the ball for almost 40 minutes against UCLA. I don't expect that to happen against Stanford. I mean, you're looking more at like 65, 70 snaps, so fewer opportunities there. What are you expecting out of the offense this Saturday?
Out of Colorado's offense?
Yeah.
Yeah, watching Stanford play Oregon, it's clear that Stanford's a better team than the team that showed up to Folsom Field last year. That was
Mhm.
really a team that had dealt with a lot of injuries, and that Stanford defense played pretty well for about 2.5 quarters, and then they kind of fell apart. It's a young secondary that Stanford has. They were without their top cornerback that's expected back this week, and I thought they played pretty good coverage. Oregon just made some really incredible plays in that game, and so uh, I, I would say maybe you regress to the mean a little bit in terms of I think maybe CU's offense won't look as great this week, but the defense you would think will get better, and we'll talk about that matchup. I think it kind of Stanford's strengths offensively match up well with CU's defensive strength, or at least what we perceive them to be. So in
Yeah.
terms of the offense, you can't expect Sam Neuer to be the best quarterback in the conference for a second week, probably. But it's going to be obviously a bigger challenge. UCLA's defense is just not that good, so it's going to be a step up for sure.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a bigger test for Sam and this offense, and I'm not expecting 48 points like we saw last week. So, how about defensively? I mean, the Buffs, obviously, we saw them give up a lot of big plays the other day, and Stanford, they're missing. I mean, they might be missing Davis Mills again, their projected starter coming into the year. Their quarterback there missed last week's game because of COVID protocols, and it doesn't sound like well, they don't know at this point if he'll play, but if he does, he won't have a week of practice. So you're looking at Jack West starting again, and then Connor Weddington, their top receiver, has been out as well for COVID. So they're a little shorthanded there.
Yeah, but their offense, it kind of goes as their running game does, and they've got a strong 1-2 punch there with Austin Jones and Nathaniel Pete, and they put up 6.4 yards per carry against an Oregon front that's supposed to be among the best in the conference. So that was pretty impressive. But what Colorado seems to struggle with year in and year out is those mobile quarterbacks and some of the vertical stuff. And I don't think that's obviously not Stanford's strength. So again, I think we thought that Colorado's front seven was going to be one of the strengths of this team. And this is the type of team that I think they match up pretty well against. Now, Stanford's offensive line has improved. Again, mentioned that stat about what they did running the ball against a good Oregon team. So it's going to be a fun matchup. I think we're going to find out on Saturday if CU's front seven is as good as we thought they were going to be coming into the season.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Austin Jones, the Stanford running back, 0 tackles for loss the other day out of 20-some carries. So he does a good job, just getting downhill. So, yeah, it's going to be a big test for this defensive line. I think they're up for it. I mean, I think this group played well. And other than that big run by DTR the other day, they did a pretty good job holding down UCLA. Different run game here. I understand that. But I do think this will be a good test, and I think we're going to learn a lot more about this team, both sides of the ball this week than we did last week.
Yeah, and Stanford, Simi Fehoko is a good receiver. They've got like 3 pretty solid receivers, but again, you don't see like an all-conference guy out of that group. And so where you look at Colorado's maybe weaknesses on defense is just lack of experience in the secondary aside from Rakestraw. And so again, I like this matchup for Colorado's defense, but it's still going to be tougher than what they faced with Stanford coming out to Boulder last year.
Yeah, for sure. And last year, obviously, KJ Costello played at quarterback and Mills did not. And so, not sure if we'll see Mills, but they like West, and he actually played a fairly decent game against Oregon. So, for me, I don't know about you, but my prediction doesn't change, regardless who the quarterback is, just because I think both are pretty decent. And the fact that even if Mills plays, he hasn't practiced all week.
Yeah, that's probably a good point. Had Mills practiced all week, that would probably shift my my prediction a little bit, but yeah, there's not a huge drop off, I don't think there. How about Stanford? Their kicker Jet Toner missing 4 field goals in that opener, and he was really good the previous 3 years. That's the best
Yeah.
name in college football, by the way. So you can't expect him to do that again.
Yeah, well, such a weird week kicking wise for both these teams, right? Jet
Yeah,
Toner, one of the best in the conference, misses 4 field goals, and James Stefano, who I believe when healthy is one of the best in the conference, and he misses two and then retires on Monday because he's just not healthy and has to hang him up. I know you and I are both sad about that. One of our favorite guys on the team, and I'm going to miss having him around. But a weird year, a weird week kicking wise for both these teams. So. It'll be interesting. I think CU's in good position with Evan Price, but if Chet Toner's not, right, then maybe CU has the edge in the kicking game.
yeah, yeah. I think you're right. Are we going predictions now?
Yeah, let's do predictions. You want to start, or you want me to go?
I'll go.
Okay.
Um, yeah, this I don't like predictions this early in the season because I want to see more out of these teams.
Right.
Um, Stanford has lost 5 in a row, so I was kind of trending towards picking Colorado in this game, but I just, yeah, I'm going to have to go with Stanford. I'm going to go, we'll go 30-28. Yeah, you could either look at it two ways, Brian. Last week I picked CU to lose and they win. The reverse jinx might be in there, right? So if
Yeah.
that's the case, I'll take full responsibility for the season opening win. And if they win again this week, again, I'll take all the credit for that. And then if you look at it the other way and you're upset with me, on Twitter, I'm at AdamCM77. So come at me. But no, in all seriousness, I just, these are both coin flip games to me going in. And if I'm going to pick UCLA to win last week, even though I was impressed with CU, Stanford's a better team than
Yeah.
UCLA. And so I've got to pick them in a close game.
Well, if you got them with 30 points, you're saying Jet Toner gets back on track and hits 3 field goals. So we'll see how that goes. So, I kind of feel about this game the same way I did going into the 2016 matchup out in Palo Alto, where I felt like the Buffs could win that game, but I just couldn't bring myself to pick them. Like I just couldn't believe I couldn't believe they were going to go out there to win. I felt they could, but I wasn't going to pick them. So I guess I'll pick 10-5 this year. No, I won't go 10-5, but I'm going to do the same as I did 4 years ago, Adam. And I believe CU can win this game. I just don't feel strong enough about it to pick them. I do think that we're going to see, like you said, kind of a return to the mean a little bit offensively and defensively. I think the Buffs play better defensively, come down a little bit offensively. But I got Stanford 28-24.
Okay. And that was the infamous game where there was a CU player that did not like your prediction and was kind of tough to deal with afterwards, right?
Yeah, I've never spoken to him since. So he was a
That's a
senior
bummer.
that year.
Yeah.
Yeah, a senior that year who I interviewed quite a bit and really liked. Nice kid.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just
But it's not personal, obviously,
right. These are never personal. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously you and I both would rather they win because it makes for better interviews and a better story, right? But
Yeah.
if the people here want us to give some actual analysis here and honest analysis, and for me, I would give the slight edge to Stanford. But when you're picking 30-28 like you did, or 28-24 like I did, that means one play here or there changes the whole thing, and CU wins the football game. So
Yeah. Yep.
we both believe that CU's got a shot to win this thing. But I think they come home 1-1.
All right.
Well, that'll do it for this, and Adam and I will be back after the game to talk about what happened.